Ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand and join Councilwoman Mills in salute to our flag and country.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Remain standing, please, for our prayer.
Our provider and sustainer, I pray that you guide us always. Satisfy the needs that need to be met during this meeting. Strengthen us as we make tough decisions. I pray that we will be like a well-watered garden, like a spring whose waters never fail. I pray that we will be fruitful. God, please guide us so that this meeting can be productive, because a lack of guidance causes a nation to fall, but victory is won through many advisors. Let us be effective and decisive, and I pray you direct our steps for your desires. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Pastor. I know we'll open our Guthrie City Council meeting of April 22nd. The second item on the agenda is public comments, community announcements, and recognitions. And I believe we have a community recognition by a representative Hildebrand from District 23.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. Yeah, it's a pleasure to come down here and visit the first Capitol. I come from State Capitol, just 30 minutes south of here. I have the pleasure of serving House District 23 in Catoosa, Rogers County, and even greater pleasure of having my legislative assistant, Kaylee Mills, who works for me. I understand you guys have all gotten to know her over the past number of months and years, however long, I'm sorry, you've been serving here, but if you have worked with her only for 1 minute, you know how incredible of a person she is. And so we wanted to come here and show her our support as the state legislature, and on behalf of our office, wanted to be here for her. I think it's also appropriate, you know, from my perspective, working in Catoosa, if you guys have stolen our city manager, we get to steal one of your city councilwomen back from you. And it's bittersweet because I know she really enjoys serving the city of Guthrie. But the sweet part is we get her full energy and time back at the Capitol. So I'm proud of you, Kaylee, and Councilwoman Mills, and so thankful to work with you. And thank you guys for the time today. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative. Now, I believe we have the recognition of service.
Yes, sir. So as is authorized in the charter on an annual basis, we will present you with the ceremonial dollar. Mayor Gitling, members of the 67th City Council, Mayor-elect Rupp, and Vice Mayor Aguirre. It is both an honor and a privilege to express on behalf of myself, the staff, our community, our deepest gratitude for your unwavering commitment and dedicated service to the City of Guthrie. To the members of the 67th City Council, your leadership and steadfast dedication have helped shape a stronger, more vibrant community. Through every decision made, every policy enacted, and initiative undertaken, your focus on the well-being and prosperity of our citizens has never wavered. Your efforts have left an undeniable mark on our city's history and our trajectory. To Mayor Gitling, thank you for your steady hand. Thank you for your collaborative spirit and vision throughout your term. Your contributions have been instrumental in fostering civic pride and moving Guthrie forward. To Mayor-elect Rupp, we look forward with great anticipation to the leadership and direction that you will bring as we step into this next chapter together. To Vice Mayor Aguirre, your continued commitment and engagement are deeply appreciated and serve as a valuable asset to our city's future. Though there are countless responsibilities that come with your roles, including the many hours spent in meetings, constituent outreach, and community engagement, please know that your service has not gone unnoticed. Your shared commitment to transparency, accountability, and integrity has earned the trust and respect of Guthrie citizens. As we honor the accomplishments of the past and look forward to the promise of the future, we extend our heartfelt thanks to each of you. Your dedication, perseverance, and selfless devotion have made a lasting impact on the community that we are proud to call home. And so, as is authorized in Article 2, Section 2, Paragraph 8 of the Guthrie City Charter, It is with great appreciation that we present to you the ceremonial dollar. At this time, I'll ask each of you to come down. We'll present the dollar, and we will take a photo individually. Start with Mayor Haley. Thank you. Mayor-elect Rob. Chris. You can get a snow cone for $1. Good job. Councilwoman Mills.
Now, wait a minute, isn't it supposed to just be 3/4? Well, at least just 3/4 is all she was gonna get.
Councilmember Taylor. You get a full dollar.
Oh.
Thanks, sir.
Appreciate it.
Councilmember Bothroyd.
Get a dollar?
You get $1. Vice Mayor Geary.
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Woods.
I know.
And I wore this for the mayor tonight, because that's the reason why I wore it. I wanted to look nice for him. I wanted to understand that I supported him already. I know his kids all went to, I know he didn't go, but it's like, okay.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
For your service.
Thank
The
you.
dollar does not even come close to the comparison, but I can, on behalf of myself, the staff, and the community, we deeply appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and thanks all of my colleagues for all of their efforts. The third item on the agenda is consent agenda. We have consent agendas A through K. They have been published, listed, and I will entertain a motion for approval of the consent agendas as published.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Submit your votes then, please.
Of the strand.
See the votes. Unanimous approval of consent agenda items A through K. Fourth item is items removed from the consent agenda. There were none. Fifth item on our agenda is the renewal of the Country Club Santa Fe Lake lease agreement. Eddie?
Yes, Mayor and Council, as you'll recall, at your regular meeting on December 17, 2024, we had a proposed tentative agreement between the City of Guthrie and the Country Club for the Santa Fe Lake lease renewal. That agreement was contingent upon terms for usage of the Country Club's pool and right-of-way necessary to relocate a city water line onto Country Club property for the Highway 105 expansion project. At this time, after going through discussions regarding right-of-way purchase and right-of-way location, it was determined through staff and engineering that it would be best to move the water line from the south side of Highway 105 to the north side of Highway 105. So in that discussion, we discovered we would need to put the water line underneath some of the greens at the Country Club, and that was not ideal for any of us. As you well know, when we're repairing water lines, if there's a leak or any reason that we need to dig that line up, we don't want to be replacing greens. So the terms of the previous lease agreement have materially changed, and that is the reason this agreement is back before you. So this agreement is a 25-year lease period. The cost of the rent has been indexed to the cost of the annual dam inspection, which is required by OWRB, and we have also asked for the lake to be metered. So the Country Club will install a meter at our request to meter all of the water usage out of the lake, and we will have the ability to say, okay, we need to stop using the lake because of the drought conditions, or fill in the blank as to the condition for the need to stop watering. At this time, both parties have agreed to what's before you. The city attorney has drafted it. I'm happy to answer any questions. Staff recommends approval.
Any questions by the council?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I'll probably be dead before the agreement's over with.
25 years.
Yeah.
Submit your votes, please.
Rescue unit, we personally have-
See the votes. Unanimous approval then to approve the amendment to the Country Club Santa Fe Lake lease agreement. Item number 6 is an amendment to the state and local cybersecurity grant program agreement. Eddie, yours too.
Yes, Mayor and Council, as you may recall, in 2024, we were selected to be the recipient of approximately $300,000 in cybersecurity grant funds. Two purposes. One, $67,518 for the purpose of hiring an IT director, $242,797.69 for hardware and software upgrades. The City Council formally accepted the grant on September 3rd, 2024. Following acceptance, city staff promptly advertised the IT director position, began the interview process. Myself, current IT director for Guthrie Public Schools, Dee Benson, who has been working with us for an interlocal agreement, as well as HR director Liz Botello. The three of us have interviewed numerous candidates for an IT director position, and we were not satisfied with what we had received in terms of applicants. So we went back to the cybersecurity board and asked to amend that grant to go from hiring an IT director to hiring a consultant to perform IT services. We did not ask for an increase in the grant award, just a straight across the board change. The cybersecurity board unanimously approved the request. Myself, Jesse Bryan went and presented the request to the cybersecurity board, answered a couple of questions. Because there was no increase in the ask in the dollar amount, we did not have any issues receiving that approval. So your first item tonight accepts the amended grant, and then you'll have a next item to award that contract. Staff recommends approval.
Questions by council?
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Submit your votes, please.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Almost unanimous by a vote of.
There it is, sorry. I pushed the
Now
wrong
it's
button.
semi-unanimous.
Yeah.
I will take that as a unanimous
Yes, it
vote.
is, yes.
Then to approve the amendments as stated to allow the city of Guthrie to contract for IT services.
Their hand didn't go.
And then item number 7, as identified, now we move into the actual awarding of the contract. Eddie?
Yes, Mayor and Council. After receiving the approval to amend the cybersecurity grant, the City of Guthrie solicited proposals for managed IT services. After reviewing proposals from 3 vendors, the selection committee recommends Standards IT. We do have a representative from Standards IT. We actually have the CEO here this evening. He'll be happy to answer any questions. After reviewing proposals from 3 vendors, we recommend Standards IT as the best and most cost-effective option for the City of Guthrie. Standards IT is based in the Oklahoma City metro area with strong community ties and has proposed a fixed fee structure that provides consistent weekly support at a rate that is within our budget. The contract covers 400 hours annually of dedicated IT support, including both on-site and remote assistance, for a total cost of $68,000 a year. This is a 1-year contract effective May 1, 2025 through May 1, 2026, and will be evaluated each year for renewal based on service and city needs. That is it in a nutshell. City Attorney has reviewed the contract. I would ask for approval pending approval as to form by the City Attorney. I think we still have a couple of items we need to discuss on the contract, but the amount will not change. And again, we've got 2 representatives from Standards IT here. If you'd like to ask them any questions. I'll tell you one of the things that stood out about Standards is 24/7 access. So one of the critical pieces of having 24/7 access, to an IT consultant, director, et cetera, is for emergency services. So police and fire and dispatch. It seems like anytime there's an issue, it's usually after 5 o'clock or it's on a weekend. And so having somebody who's available after hours, on call 24/7, that's a big component of this contract. The two other proposals that we received did not offer those services. So I feel comfortable with the contract we have before us, and staff recommends approval. Happy to answer any questions.
And that is within the budget that was previously approved in the grant,
$500, within $500, yes, sir.
within $500.
Yep, yep.
So what's the contractual issues?
I don't know that there are issues. I know that we received a contract proposal from Standards IT. We responded with our changes. And because we had a short deadline last week with the holiday, getting it on the agenda, the contract I put in the packet, I put both contracts in the packet. So you've got both examples, but until we merge those together, excuse me, until we merge those together, I want the city attorney to have the authority subject to final approval.
How many, you said we get 400 hours? What happens if we go over?
So there is a billing rate structure, and I would ask if you want to step up to the podium.
170 an hour.
Yep. We can discuss that as we need to. One of the good things about having, say, we're going to take 400 hours for the year. Well, if we need, what that breaks down to is 8 hours a week. Well, if this week we need 16 hours, but next week we don't need anything.
It's a cruise.
Correct. Correct. So we've used our 8 hours for next week. It's already there. You see what I'm saying? So next week we wouldn't, it would just be flat because we didn't use any services. Whereas this week we're not going to be billed in addition to, it's just going towards that 400-hour annual purchase.
So you're only pulling hours off that we actually use, correct? From the contract of $5,600 a month?
Yes, sir.
What if we don't use any?
Would be shocked.
I'll say no.
I would too, but
Yeah.
So now, will you be coming up here, or just, will this be online?
We'll be coming up here.
Okay.
Yeah, we take clients within 50 miles of our office in Oklahoma City. And we have a thermometer bar, so every week we can see if we're a little ahead or if we're a little behind. We can visualize that, and then we can take it easy next week, or we can ramp up if something happens. You know, things happen, especially weekend work and stuff like that. But it's all one flat rate. It's all the $170 an hour, and that's approximately 1 day a week. But yeah, if you use your whole day, it's not like you can't call us. We just eat into next week, basically.
That was something that I did like about the contract when I was looking at it, is the ability to flex those hours, and then also like the 24-hour support and weekends. So.
Yeah, and we have hospitals that are 24/7, emergency rooms. It seems to work well. So we haven't had too many issues with it in the past. People like the flat billing, and they like the ability to flex one way or the other. So that's why we do it.
Danny, could you introduce yourself and your team and
Sure.
just give a quick little history about Standards IT, please?
Yes, sir. I'm Dan Slusarchuk. Started Standards IT in 2012. This is Nick Morse and his son, Rafi.
He's the real techie?
He knows more about AI than we do.
it will real quick anyway.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. We've been in business since 2012. We have 20 employees, and we specialize in CIO to service desk, but we also have data analytics and development folks in our team.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions from the council?
Nope.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Submit your votes, please.
all votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approval then to move forward with the agreement with Standard IT LLC as presented. Item number 8, interlocal agreement with Logan County for emergency management services and equipment transfer. Chief, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. On February 13th, city staff met with Logan County Emergency Management representatives to discuss updates to an existing partnership. The last formal agreement that we had on file that Kim sent over was in February of 2021. During that meeting, Emergency Management proposed a new cost share agreement totaling $27,300, which would include the acquisition of a new drone and a vehicle under a one-year term. Following that meeting, city staff met. That's whenever I proposed an alternative approach. We discussed a 3-year agreement and a transfer of an ownership of a Tahoe that we currently have in our fleet. It's currently being used as a city pool car. It is upfitted with lights and a command box in back. That vehicle, if we agree to transfer that over, would be going to Emergency Manager Sean. It would be, like I said, it'd be a 3-year agreement for a nominal fee of $2 and a acquisition of one of our Typhoon drones as well. So city staff is recommending that we move forward with this agreement, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions by council?
I've noticed the drones are the big deal right now. I saw where Oklahoma City's got theirs up in the air, and they're fighting fires, and if they have a car accident, they can get the ambulance there and show them how to find them. If somebody's off the road or whatever. I think it's a great idea.
Yes, sir. I've been at many incidents with Emergency Manager Haga, and we've been able to utilize that drone to our advantage. They definitely come in handy.
Dan, how much do you anticipate them using our stuff?
As far as the drone and vehicle?
Yeah.
Quite well. Unfortunately, the last 2 months, Emergency Manager Haga and I have been with each other almost every day. So we're lucky to have a great working relationship. But yes, quite frequently, I mean, emergencies happen quite frequently. And like I said, Haga's been at several of our scenes lately.
But you're signing it over to Steve's
help.
group, right?
Absolutely.
They have unencumbered use of it, period.
That's correct.
Correct.
So-
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
full-time is the answer.
Oh, no, I know that. I meant in general, how often in general are we loaning our stuff or being borrowed? Just curious.
We don't usually loan our stuff to them, but this would be a transfer to them,
They're giving it to
and they would be
Cool.
taking
Okay.
full ownership of it.
And Chief, just to clarify, like that transfer is valid for the full 3-year agreement?
Yes,
correct?
and like I said, this is a 3-year agreement, not a 3-year contract. We'll have to bring this back each year, is that correct? For you guys, to present it to you and sign another agreement for 3 years. So,
But we would not be transferring additional equipment to cover those 3 years, correct?
no, this would just be the Tahoe and the drone.
So a couple things also I'd like to add to that. The charter requires that we have somebody designated as emergency manager. Previously, the city of Guthrie and Logan County Emergency Management, I believe when David Ball was emergency management director, we had an agreement in place, and over time, I believe negotiations between the two entities they didn't materialize, to put it kindly. So this agreement, we've got a great working relationship with Emergency Manager Director Haga, who is here. I can tell you that if we hadn't been working together on the recent wildfires, we both would have been in a tough spot. Chief Lawson spent a lot of time in that command center, 24/7 basically, and Emergency Manager Haga was there with him. So this agreement just furthers that partnership, and we're giving them for $2 a drone that was donated to us and we haven't used, so that was a donated item to us. The Tahoe we did purchase, it's a 2016 Tahoe with almost 200,000 miles on it, so 191,600 miles.
Yep.
So for a 3-year partnership between the two entities, I think we're all pretty happy with that, and I applaud Chief Lawson for negotiating the deal and Emergency Manager Haga for coming to terms with us on this.
Well, I think it's a great deal, so I make a motion to approve.
Have a
Second.
motion, is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I'd just like to say, the partnership between city and county is crucial, as well as state. And the fires are just such a example of how critical that is, that resources are from all over this county and state are focused when we have those kinds of emergency situations. So congratulations for solidifying, making that partnership work and for this contract. Submit your votes, please. I'm sorry, was there something else?
No, I just said good job.
Submit your votes.
Eddie, you wouldn't let Aaron Ryburn fly that drone?
Let's see the votes. Okay, unanimous approval to
Thank you, Mayor and
approve the
Council.
interlocal agreement, which transfers city-owned equipment to Logan County Emergency Management. Item number 9, award RFQ number 2024-14, Airport Engineering Consultant Services.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The FAA requires federally obligated airports like ours to go through a qualifications-based selection process for engineering services at least once every 5 years. In late December, we issued a request for qualifications to secure a consultant who can assist us with everything from small projects like hangar surveys to major infrastructure like our runway improvements and our terminal development. We received 2 proposals, one from Lochner and one from Park Hill. A selection committee consisting of the Airport Board Chair, Dick Geib of Edmond, Vice Chair and Vice Mayor Aguirre, the City Manager, and myself carefully reviewed both. Both firms were qualified and capable, but Park Hill was recommended for selection for multiple reasons. The first was experience. The Park Hill team, particularly our direct project managers, have long-standing relationships with the city and the airport. Park Hill's prior performance with the schematic design for our terminal helped secure the CDS funding. That we weighed that heavily. In-house capabilities, we're about to begin design on a terminal, and Park Hill actually has an in-house architect, whereas Lochner would have to subcontract that out. And lastly was the personal stake that Park Hill had. Park Hill's lead project manager for us actually bases his aircraft at our airport. And so he has a little bit of a vested interest when we have projects like runway closures that impact all users. He's aware of all the businesses on the airport, and it impacts him as well. Not that the other submission wouldn't work to meet our deadlines, but we just saw a little bit more of a vested interest there. We rely heavily on our consultant. I speak to our consultant, if not daily, certainly every week about various projects, and it allows us to move more quickly when funding opportunities arise. I want to emphasize that this award does not lock us into Park Hill for everything, and I'll get to that a little bit more in our next item. And with that, I'm happy with take any questions you might have.
Questions by council?
Yes. How long has Park Hill had this relationship to the airport?
So the lead project managers, Toby Baker and Craig Boyer, have actually been with the airport for more than a decade. They were at the firm CEC Engineering, which we had an agreement with in 2020 when we went through this same process. Their aviation division actually completely left CEC in 2021, and we, with approval from the State Aeronautics Department, transferred over to Park Hill. We've been with them and happy with their services ever since.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? No. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Submit your votes, please.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approval then to award the RFQ 2024-14 to Park Hill Consulting Services. Item number 10 is the master agreement between the city of Guthrie and Park Hill. You
Yes.
still have it.
This master agreement, it outlines the general terms and expectations between the city and Park Hill. I do want to emphasize individual projects, such as the full design of the terminal and construction, will be authorized through separate agreements that will be attached through addendums. That will go before the airport board and the city council for further approval. This agreement also does not obligate the city to use Park Hill for every airport-related project. We talked about the Myers drainage study at the airport board meeting and at the joint selection committee, and we've used Myers Engineering for that to do a study, and Park Hill has also recommended that we go ahead and retain them for when we construct a detention pond in the future. because then we're going to be starting back at square one when we could use Meyer. So it doesn't lock us into Park Hill. We definitely can always go with a different engineer, but as far as just a master on-call agreement, we can pick up the phone when we have an issue, which, like I said, is weekly. They'll tell us if someone is wanting to construct a hangar that's going to have an issue next to the runway. That would be an engineer call. If we need a quick survey of a hangar, they can do that in an hour or so. They're really quick at it. And so having this on-call agreement is huge for the airport.
Okay, questions from council? Well, it's an exciting time at the airport, obviously with lots of things going on, the terminal as well as all kinds of expansion potential things out there. So it's a really, really great thing, and it's good to have a firm like of this nature to help us with it. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Submit your votes.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approval then for the master agreement between the City of Guthrie and Park Hill for professional architectural and engineering services. Item number 11, ordinance number 3422, amending the charter, chapter number 3 concerning animals. Eddie?
Yes, Mayor and Council, I will kick this off and then I will let the city attorney take this one as
He's
he,
excited about it, I can tell.
he looks excited.
Tonight.
He can't contain it. I can see it in his face. So at the request of the City Council, staff has prepared an ordinance amending Chapter 3 of the Guthrie Code of Ordinances relating to animals. This ordinance repeals the existing Article 6, exotic and vicious animals, in its entirety and replaces it with the updated provisions under section and attached under sections 3-70 through 3-79A. The revised language provides clearer definitions, improved regulatory guidance, and more consistent enforcement measures. Additionally, Section 3-120 has been amended to include escalating penalties for repeated violations involving dogs running at large, as directed by council to address ongoing concerns within the community. In addition to myself and City Attorney Wheeler, Lieutenant Steve Mize is here as well from the police department if there are any questions as it relates to animal control. Be happy to turn it over to City Attorney Wheeler.
So I would say that this has been a long time coming. We started this project probably 6 years ago, and it didn't get very far, died on the vine. It's something that needs to be done. Our current ordinance is literally 2 paragraphs. It gives us no ability to remove animals, gives us no teeth. The current ordinance mirrors state law. It gives us teeth. It allows us to remove dogs. It puts consequences in place for owners who don't take care of their dogs. As has been said many times, in these conversations, dogs aren't the problem, it's dog owners are the problem. And this gives us the ability to find them, remove the animal, and hold them accountable. And I'll answer any questions, if anybody has any specific questions about it.
Question from the council.
Billy, I did have one more, I'm sorry. Thank you for taking the time to answer my questions earlier. Under the subsection 3-79A, good question. Sorry.
379A would be page 198 in your packet. It is the second to last page of your ordinance.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Under subsection A, where it talks about animals can be impounded, and if the animal is not reclaimed or removed from the city limits within 3 days, notice to the owner, then it can be destroyed or sold. I know that you had kind of visited with me a little bit, but I guess my concern is still like, how is that notice going to be given? Because if it's sent by mail, it can take 3 days to get there or longer, and so.
So it's 3 days after they get notice. They get 3 days notice.
After they've received
Right. So we can't destroy
notice?
Are you sending it registered mail or
In
something?
the new one, we've made some corrections to it, or some changes to it. So now, as I've worded a current one, I don't think you guys have seen, would be 3 days notice to the owner. Let's see. Notice shall be provided by personal service or certified mail with return receipt. If the owner cannot be located, notice may be posted at the owner's last known address. But we have to make an attempt to, if we're gonna take that kind of action, we have to make an attempt to give them actual notice.
Right, I think that's totally appropriate. I guess my concern still is like if we mail something and we don't hear from them, and then we take action and then they got it the next day, like, does that make sense?
It
Do you-
does.
do you
We're dealing
understand my
with the animals this way, so my recommendation to animal control and law enforcement is always to try to do all of those. I mean, if we want to post it on, we want to do everything we can. So time is
So
money.
multiple methods. of
Multiple methods. You don't wait for
notifications,
one
what
to
you're
go. But time is money on this. So while we're having to have this animal, we're out the cost of veterinary care, feed, shelter. So it's in our best interest to resolve these matters as quickly as possible.
So how do we determine a dangerous animal? And who is gonna supply a $50,000 surety bond?
So that comes right out of the state, the $50,000 surety bond comes right out of the state statute. So we're mirroring what
Who
is,
provides that? I've never heard of anybody providing.
I don't know where you can get it.
You can't.
No.
So, and something to add to that, that is also required after the municipal judge has ruled that the animal has determined the animal to be vicious or dangerous.
Well, but that's not what this says, right?
Yes, yes,
Says-
sir. Section
Says by,
378.
says determined by animal control supervisor.
So, no, so they can start the process of removal, but before all of those things kick in, the actual determination of a vicious animal is made by the court.
Yeah, section 378, it's page 196 in your packet. Determination, the municipal judge shall be empowered to make one of the following determinations as a result of said hearing. So we're not impeding the animal control officer from doing their job.
Okay.
So,
I get it.
for example, say we get a call.
That's fine,
for-
I get it.
Okay, you're good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Any other questions from the council?
I think this is very much needed. I appreciate City Hall's speed on putting this together. We had an incident a few weeks ago that kind of broke the camel's back to do this. So City Hall acted pretty quick, though, in doing this. So thank you, Eddie, staff, for doing that.
Okay. Any other?
I would like to add, because I was involved in those conversations as well with the city manager. Real talk around Guthrie is not an official report. People need to call
Yeah, that's right.
dispatch and, you know, I mean, and talk to dispatch because, you know, the police department doesn't monitor real talk around Guthrie 24/7. And so, but they do monitor the phone line. I know nobody wants to pick up a phone and actually make a phone call anymore, but if you have problems with dogs running around and killing your cat or your chickens or whatever, you know, you need to call the dispatch.
That goes for any department.
That's right. We welcome phone calls and emails. We're happy to discuss anything at any time, so.
Much more effective than social media.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments from the council?
So moved. Make a motion.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
I would ask that that motion be to include the updated version of this with a couple corrections that were.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the updated version, Billy?
So let me tell you quick.
I thought you had already said, is there a motion?
Well, and I'll outline. So the vicious animal, the definition of vicious animal in your version, there's 4 parts of it. It's unclear whether it had to meet all of them or one of them. So we clarify that they have to meet one criteria of those. There's an inconsistency on a concrete footing, which is from the state statute, that we need the footing to be 2 feet deep. There's, I think, 3 references to that, and they didn't mirror the language the same, so those have been corrected to mirror that. And then we clarified the notice, as Councilwoman Mills has just discussed, we clarified the notice to be personal service or certified mail. So those are the clarifications that are on there. And there was one reference to a 330A, which didn't exist. It should have been a B1. So that was just a clerical error. But those are it's identical to what you have with those exceptions.
But the fines are what we used to have, aren't they? That didn't change, I don't think, did it?
No, it's an escalating fine.
No, I know, but I think that we had that in place.
I think the fine of 500
Was in place originally, wasn't it?
I don't think it's, That is what we've been using. The original ordinance is very vague on vicious animals.
Okay. So the motion will include the updated version as
Yes.
identified by
With the city attorney, yes.
And the second, who had the second? Second accepts that? Okay, any other discussion? Nope. Submit your votes, please.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approval then to accept the amended ordinance number 3342, chapter 16, with the updated version as identified by the city attorney.
Mayor, if you could clarify, ordinance number 3422, 3342 is the next item.
I'm sorry, let me clarify that. We're approving ordinance number 3422, chapter 3.
Yes, sir.
As updated by the city attorney. Thank you. Item number 12, ordinance number 3342, amending chapter 16, planning and zoning. Dan, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mayor. City Council, for once I am going to be brief. This item was discussed at the April 1st City Council meeting. There was no major concerns or changes that were requested. I did do an amended preface to the zoning code just so it helps to understand that there are avenues in the code if there is for appeals and other things, so it doesn't necessarily come across as it being set in stone. So with that, I'll give it back to the council. It would be a recommendation to adopt the ordinance number 3342, which would again adopt the updated zoning code.
So in our last meeting, I wanted to push this out there so that everybody had time to review and look at it. I haven't been able to reach everybody today to find out if everybody has on council. So I'd like to go around, make sure everybody has had ample time to look at it. I would think that they would by now, as well as the public. So,
How many hours did you actually spend on this?
Honestly, I don't know. It took me about a year. I mean, to develop it from the very beginning, because literally had to redo the entire code. So yeah, it took about a year. Yeah, because unfortunately I had a couple other things I had to do, you know, along the way, so.
I make the motion to approve this.
We have 3 individuals from the public that would like to speak on this issue. Mr. Ingram?
Is this open meeting or is this going to?
No, this is not open meeting.
Hello, Mayor and Council. I was a Realtor for 33 years in my former line of work, and I know how important that zoning and updated zoning is. And Dan is doing a phenomenal job, in my opinion, of bringing Guthrie up to date. I am all for this, and I hope you are too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ingram. Mr. Morris?
Slower these days.
It's all right. Take your time. Please identify yourself, please.
Yeah, my name is Elijah Morris.
And you are a citizen of Guthrie.
Yes, I live here in Guthrie. And I'm a builder and a developer here in town, and I've done a lot of building and remodeling and stuff, and worked with Dan, quite a bit over the years. And I know how hard he's worked on this. And I, as a builder and a developer, I know how good this is going to be for the city and just moving us forward, kind of into the next, phase of just development and things like that. And so I would, highly recommend that this be approved. I don't see anything in it that, is going to, be detrimental in any way. So I'd recommend you all approve it.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Appreciate that input. Mr. Long?
My name is James Long. I live at 512 East Washington here in Guthrie, and I'm just echoing the other two. So I just want to appreciate how much work Dan has put into this. This has been a can that's been kicked for a long time, so I'm glad to finally see it come to fruition, and I appreciate all the hard work that he and many other people have put into it. So working with people every day in real estate, having updated code is important. So I think that this will be a good thing for Guthrie.
Thank you. Really appreciate those comments. And Dan and a lot of other folks, you're right, all 3 of you. A lot of people put a lot of work in this. I think this brings us into currency, so it's a good thing. Okay, now
There should be one more.
I'm sorry?
There should be one more. Terry Kleinfelter.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Yep, Terry? Kleinfelder? Kleinfelder?
Just wanted to take a moment and say I appreciate the direction the city of Guthrie's going. I relocated my family up from Edmond because of all the changes in the direction the city's going. And I appreciate something that I don't know was talked about last time, but the ability to have smaller homes, which are appropriate for young couples starting out, is something that was very not available in Edmond. And I'm glad to see it on the horizon here for Guthrie. So,
Great.
Thank you, sir.
Great. Appreciate your comments. Thank you very much.
So with that, I'll make a second.
Well, hold on. I just wanted to thank Dan for all of your work on this, and I know we've gone back and forth a lot on various provisions in here, so I appreciate your willingness to dialogue with me extensively on all of that, and answer questions and address concerns and things like that. So I know you've put a lot of work into this, and I'm excited to see it finally moving forward. I think it will be great for our community. So I have had time to review it, and I feel confident in moving forward with this, so thank you for that. The only sticking point I had that Dan and I could not come to an agreement on, which I'm sure seems minor, but to me it's something that I think we need to look at for a moment. Under Article 5,
It's under signs.
subsection
Yeah.
14.5 under signs, it's page 345 in your packet. Under political signs, I'm sure all of us up here are familiar with that world. The very first point under there says duration, and it says political signs have to be removed 5 days after the election, but it says political signs cannot be placed more than 60 days in advance of an election. And I know that statewide campaigns, people often start knocking doors far earlier than that. And so I think this 60 days is not a realistic number. If you wait till 2 months before the election to start putting signs out, you're already way behind the curve. So I discussed with Dan, I would like to see a longer period of time on that. I just think that's realistic. I routinely see signs out earlier than 2 months, so that was the only.
Do you have a suggestion for what the time frame would be?
Well,
Indefinite.
state campaigns. No, I don't. I do not want campaign signs out all the time, believe me.
That kind of narrowed it down.
Yeah. State campaigns, people start knocking doors a year in advance.
So let's talk about that. Knocking doors and putting a sign in your yard in the neighborhood is one thing,
Right.
but putting signs up on state highways is a totally different issue.
Right. I didn't see that this differentiates. It just simply states signs cannot be placed more than 60 days prior.
Yeah, you're
So
correct.
we
Any
need to
political sign.
differentiate
Yeah.
that.
Because in the past, we just kind of turned a blind eye as a city to that.
Yeah, and I will say, as Councilwoman Mills had indicated, we had talked, I just didn't feel comfortable putting a specific time frame in there without the council addressing it or considering it. So from a staff perspective, I have no issue if it's 90 days, 120 days. I just wanted to make sure that the council as a whole was in agreement with that change because it didn't come up previously.
Well, and there's nothing restricting somebody going and knocking on doors and answering
right.
that question, nothing there.
Yeah.
So that can happen earlier, it's just that the signage can't go up more than, what's being proposed, more than 60
Just
days. I personally think that 60 days is sufficient.
I don't know that any of us put them up more than 60, did we?
I didn't put up signs.
I did. I did, and I think 60 days is fine. I think you know, sometimes when we get signs put up for a really, really long duration, we're not seeing them anyway. They're there. They become a part of the background, of the noise. I think 60 days is sufficient, personally.
I'd be willing to do 90.
Me too. I was getting ready to say that as well. 90 would be good. What do you think of that?
Yeah,
I'm not sure that you don't have a First Amendment issue on this. I mean,
well, let's let
political
city attorney
speech, political
discuss
speech
that.
has the highest level, I mean, it triggers what's called strict scrutiny. I taught constitutional law for 15 years. It triggers strict scrutiny, and you can have reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions, but the courts are very, with regard to political signage, very reluctant to uphold anything that restricts political speech. That's the pinnacle of First Amendment protection in this country. So I don't have a problem with it, but just recognize that, you know, you could wind up in court over this, and I think we're going to lose.
Attorney?
No, I don't disagree with that at all. So our signs can't be, they have to be content, the rules have to be content neutral. We can't have specific language in there that discriminates against those signs, political or non-political. And I think that is correct. So I think that we can have this in the ordinance. I don't think we have any problem. I don't think the ordinance has a legality issue in that way. But I do think that that we are very strictly trying to enforce on political signs. If we're picking up and removing political signs, we're going to have a potential issue.
And I think something we have to consider from a staff perspective as well is there's a whole lot of stuff in the ordinance. And we have to take each code case on a case-by-case basis, and we look at each case on its merits. You know, if there's signs, for most planning directors, is the bane of their existence. And I can tell you that, having been a former city planner, I've had that experience. And I can tell you, every municipality in Oklahoma has a provision in their zoning code about political signs. Whether or not it's enforced is a totally separate issue. Finding a compromise here on the timeline, I think, is a good way. If it's 90 days, if it's 6 months, whatever the compromise is there, knowing that if we ever have to defend any such action, which could be applicable to everything we do here, we know going into it that we've got to handle that case with that understanding.
Well, let's look at our official legal opinion by Councilman Aguirre that states that we can't do it. And I understand what you're saying. You've taught that.
I'm not giving a legal opinion for the city. I am just telling you.
That's what it sounded like to me. But at the end,
constitutional-
that's what it sounded like to me, and then Billy jumped right on board with you. So it seems to me like you gave the legal opinion, and then you concurred. But you were gonna let us vote on it anyway. So I got an issue with that, but we'll talk about that another day. So in this particular case right here, why do we even have it? They have to sign up by December 2nd or whatever it is. Let them run with them.
So, Councilman Bothroyd, my main concern with this, the reason why I brought it up, is because I think that people are going to put out signs earlier than that. And
I don't think they can put out the signs prior to them going.
If this is overly restrictive, my concern is it's just gonna put more burden on the staff because they're having to enforce something that's overly restrictive to begin with.
I guess you didn't hear what I said.
So-
What I said was, when you sign up for whether it's council or state rep or anything else, put your signs out, if that's what you want to do, up until 5 days after the election. That's what I said. That's where I was going.
So you were going with filing period?
I'm going with filing period.
Okay.
You're not going to be able to put your signs up prior to the filing period, I wouldn't think, because you're not going to have a leg to stand on if the city pulled them down, because you haven't filed. You just got signs laying everywhere. So it has to be at least the filing period forward.
That makes sense to me.
So
That's fine.
there you have it.
I don't think Dan's going to die on the hill of signage of political signs. are you?
Because that's pretty much, that's how.
I can tell you with certainty that is a correct statement.
But that's how it's been in this community.
Yeah,
period.
no, you're not wrong.
So.
Absolutely.
Let's just not change that.
Yeah, or we can change the verbiage to say that, that's not
Well,
a problem.
So indefinite, unlimited.
Or As
So the-
Councilman Bothroyd had said, that once you put in basically your papers are filed, then you can start putting up political signs or candidacy signs.
But that's crazy to do, but if they want
Yeah.
to do it, let them.
Yeah.
Gotcha. What do you think of that?
So is there amendment to the document?
Oh, yeah.
That somebody would like to make?
I'm gonna make an amendment that we change it from 60 days to the date of filing till 5 days after the election.
That's your motion.
That's my motion.
So you move approval
Of the-
of the ordinance number 3342, amending chapter 16, planning and zoning as amended to reflect the change in from filing
Through
date through 5 days after.
Correct.
Right.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? So what we're voting on is the amendment from filing date until 5 days after the election. Is that clear with everybody?
Yep.
Submit your votes.
All votes right?
See the votes. Unanimous approval then with the amendment, ordinance number 3342 as amended to reflect that signs can go up from filing date to 5 days after the election.
But that's part of the zoning code that I've got a second on and Jeff has a motion on. Okay, so she can't make a second on a zoning code that we've already got a motion and a second on.
So you amended your motion, is that what
I
you're saying?
amended my second
Right. And I amended
to
the
reflect
motion.
that.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But again, our attorneys should have known that.
I think we voted on the ordinance as amended with your suggestion, Brian.
Okay,
That's how I took it.
all right.
I think that's what we all
As
voted on.
long as that's what we got, 'cause Jeff
That's
put the
why I
fir-
tried to clarify it before we
Okay,
voted.
well,
Excuse
typic-
me, just a minute.
Okay,
That's why I tried to clarify it.
Okay.
So I think we're all on the same page.
okay,
All right, good, thank you.
as long as we are.
We are. I guarantee it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you,
Oh, you're
Dan.
not-
Stan,
Oh, yeah, I guess you are.
never ends with Dan on this city
He's
code.
trying to run.
Okay, item number 13, Ward 1 City Council position. This is an issue that's going to be happening, not an issue, but a process that's going to be happening, that with Mayor-elect Ropp being elected as mayor, he gives up his ward seat. Then the council has to decide how to select the person to fill that ward vacancy. We've had this happen a number of times over the last, 10 years that I've been involved. Have handled it differently, a little bit differently at sometimes. And the question is, since this is going to be happening quickly, what kind of process do you, the council, want to follow in selecting the person that will take Adam's
I'd like
place
to go
as
back to
councilman?
what we did before, which was we bring in the council members and let them interview them in private.
But I would like to do one step further, because we have done that multiple times where we had a 3-team committee do it. We changed it
We had-
last time because you wanted to be involved in it,
We
and
had
so.
three person, so we
had
didn't have a
three-
quorum.
We had a 3-person team, one from each ward, that would interview that person. If we had 2 3-people teams that interviewed these people, then there'd be more consensus, I think, going into council that the candidate that we're choosing is the right candidate.
I have a
That's
question
all.
for the city.
Versus public.
I have a question for the city attorney.
Go ahead.
So the ordinance says if a vacancy occurs, the council goes through this process. Well, currently, there is no vacancy
Exactly.
at this moment. So can we even have this discussion right now? And if the council votes on something while there's no vacancy, is that even valid moving forward?
Yeah, because you're voting on a policy. So it's a policy for next time this happens.
Yeah.
So there's no problem discussing that tonight, there's no problem coming up with a plan. it won't kick in until there's a vacancy, until this body declares that there's a vacancy.
This is just how we want to do it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But is this only in place for the next time this happens, or is this in place in continuum until something is changed by?
It's gonna be in place, it's gonna be our policy until the next time we change it.
Okay.
The reality is, we've had this conversation every time we have a declared vacancy.
And the only time we've changed it was in bringing you on. Otherwise, it was the same process.
So I understand the importance of moving forward and filling a vacancy on the council so that the council can continue to conduct business. And, I realize that's important for city staff to be able to do that. I personally believe it would be more appropriate to wait until the new Ward 1 council member takes her seat and she can have a say in the process to nominate and seat the next Ward 1 council member, since that is her ward. I obviously am not gonna be up here when you all go through that process, so I think it would be more appropriate for her to be able to be involved in that conversation, so she has a say in the process to nominate and appoint the other member from her ward.
Okay.
One of the things that we've discussed in the past is the potential of going into executive session for this process. As I read the reasons for going into executive session, it seems to me that this, in fact, could be one of the reasons to go into executive session in order to select another official.
I've always had a different opinion on that. I've seen arguments made both ways on that, but it's about an individual position. So we're talking about a person, an employee of the city. We cannot talk about it in open session.
Correct.
But at this point in time, we don't have somebody. We're trying to interview. We're trying to determine who we have. So my opinion on that, and this has come up multiple times when we've had these conversations, but my opinion on that, a strict reading of that, I do not believe that interviewing council members is appropriate in executive session.
You said is not, or is?
It's not. But the language that I'm reading here is to specifically state, it says executive sessions for public bodies will be permitted only for the only for the purposes of, and number one, there are 9 different reasons to go into executive session. But number one is discussing the employment, hiring, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of any individual salaried public officer or employee. My interpretation is that the city council person becomes a public officer.
They do.
And they're salaried, we have, got it right here. We're salaried. So it would seem to me that the language does allow for this process to go into executive session.
I think there's a difference between the hiring decision that you guys make as a body versus bringing them in and interviewing them. And again, I will admit, I've seen arguments on this on both sides.
But I think
my job is to try to keep us in the best legal position we can.
Yep.
And I think that there's some ambiguity in that, and I don't think it's the best policy to interview council members in executive session.
Okay?
My concern with that as a lawyer is that no court is gonna hold that $1 a year is a salary position, because salary has very non-exempt versus exempt employees have very specific definitions under the law. And they're never, that's an honorarium, it's a volunteer position. My position is that you can't go into executive session to hire a council person because they're not an employee of the city. And I mean, you can do what you want. I'm not gonna risk my law license, which is what I said before, I'm not gonna risk it. a minimal risk, I don't know. You know, if you.
I think the only issue we have here, in the past, we've had a 3-person committee, non-quorum, one from each ward, interview the candidates, and if they had 100% mutual agreement on it, just like with Grant, then we brought that person forward. That's what we did. And then the council, we talked to the council about it. I talked to him individually. I don't know if the others did. And then about the candidate, and then we voted on the candidate. So that in its own right versus doing the public interview, which I thought was a disaster last time. Okay, it makes more sense to do that. Now, if there's issue that everybody wants to be involved, you could have 2-3 teams. You could have 3 from each ward, including Moneca, okay, that interview the candidates, and then council can go into executive session and discuss it and say, you know, here's what I thought, because I don't think it's right to discuss your resume publicly. Okay, I just don't. Okay, you don't give your resume when you're out there being a candidate. You go have conversation with your constituents. You don't throw your resume out there publicly. You should, but you don't. So that is it's either that process or the public process. So, I mean, is there a problem going to executive session for 2 teams of 3 to discuss the candidates at that point?
I think it's different. I think the hiring process, much like hiring a city manager, I think you're okay with that. I'm concerned with the process of bringing them in.
Yeah, no, So you're differentiating between interviewing and
Correct.
discussion of the candidate. You're saying if you're interviewing, you don't feel comfortable with it, but discussing the candidates, you feel more comfortable with.
I still think that what has always been done here is a 3-team, that comes back to council. And council at that point has a conversation, and that conversation is open, it's public, as who is going to be the best fit to serve.
Well,
and I don't know that there's a benefit to having that conversation. We're not talking about qualifications, dirty laundry, but the qualifications to serve, and I don't know that there's any purpose of that conversation being behind closed doors.
Well, I don't know either. All I'm saying is if you had 2 teams of 3, then everybody participates in who the candidate that's being brought forward is.
No issue with that. And then I think you have a motion made here at the Horseshoe, a discussion and a vote. I don't think at that point it needs to be in an executive session.
I don't know if it does either. I think that each team could talk individually at that point. Not collectively, but individually.
As long as you come back in here, have a meeting, an open session, have a meeting, have a discussion that you have on every other issue. There's no issue.
I do like the idea of everybody getting to interview instead of just 3.
So in other words, and I'm just throwing this out there, if it were me, Adam, and Tracy, and Jeff, Grant, and Moneca as 2 teams, or split up however you want, one from each ward, then, and I say from that ward, even though you'll be mayor at that point, but there's only 6 of us. So.
Yeah.
There's also nothing stopping each individual member to reaching out and having one-on-one conversations.
That's what I said.
So it doesn't have to be 3 and 3. It can be any.
No, I can reach out to Adam, for example, and say, hey, we interviewed Grant, and I thought he was a good candidate for this position. Here's why I think that. But there are also 2 other candidates. What did you feel? You know, you had candidates that you looked at.
But I'm also saying there's nothing stopping you individually from meeting with a potential candidate. Interviewing on your own if you wanted to. It doesn't have to be 3 and 3.
I get that. But if we put a policy together where it's going to be 3 and 3, and we put an application process out, then you shouldn't be going and interviewing one-on-one when a team of 3 is going to interview you for the position. That's all.
What's your pleasure?
Having been on that team that brought Vice Mayor Gary on, I didn't like the process because it puts a lot of responsibility on me
that you're gonna take my word for putting somebody in that seat, and you haven't had a chance to hear them or interview them. That's a big responsibility, and it could go unbiasedly towards a slant of somebody's opinion or affiliations or communications or relationship to a person. It was a big trust, I thought, and I was brand new on the council. So Brian was there, James Long was there, but I still didn't like the process the way it was. I accepted it because that's the way it was. But I would rather everybody had heard the same that I heard.
Through the three
Somehow,
cameras,
I would prefer everybody had a decision.
Yeah. Well, that's why I brought up having two teams.
I don't
of
know
three.
what that looks like, but I really did, I felt uncomfortable just three of us making that decision.
So there's a couple issues that I'm hearing. One is wait till the new councilwoman is appointed. And then the other one is two groups of three, and then the only person that isn't engaged directly, but can be engaged individually, is of course the mayor.
No, because you could have.
He'll be involved because he'll be one of the
If you have a
three.
vacancy, you only have 6 members.
No, I'm sorry.
That's
You're
why-
right.
that's why I said
I'm
two
sorry.
teams of
I'm
three.
sorry, you're absolutely right, you're absolutely correct. Okay, so then all the 6 seated members of the council at that point would all be engaged.
And I think
in two
that
groups.
handles your issue of responsibility because everybody's had the chance to interview.
Yeah, everybody's heard, everybody's made their own.
And then we get together collectively or in executive session or whatever and hash it out and decide who we bring forward. I don't know that we want to do that publicly, but again, that's up to city attorney.
Well, doesn't matter to me as long as everybody gets a say.
I'm talking about if there's,
Yeah.
in other words, if 3 say, yeah, this guy or this gal, and 3 are going, no, you're crazy, it's this guy or this gal,
I guess we'll cross
then
that
do we
bridge
want to
when we
have
get
that conversation publicly?
Well, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Or do you want to have it in executive session, which, from what Steve read, allows us to do?
I would think you would want to have it in an executive
I
session.
would too.
I think that would be
I would too.
appropriate
I
for the
think it would save-
individuals, all the individuals involved.
The question that came up before was the individual themselves. I mean, it could be challenging, embarrassing, or something. on
Sure,
that.
absolutely.
And we don't want that.
No, absolutely we don't. We don't want to embarrass anybody.
I mean, if everybody agreed, and you knew everybody agreed, then that's one thing. There's not an issue. Okay?
Well, do you want?
Well, you can't know that until you have a session.
Well, you
of some
can,
kind.
they can talk to City Hall. You could know. Eddie could know if there's a consensus to bring a certain person forward out of both groups, I would think.
Just tell me how that
Wouldn't he,
works.
Billy?
How do you
Or
want
does
it?
it?
It's a fine line on that. You don't want to take any polling before
Okay.
you go into a meeting, so that's.
There will be no polling of the
So that
council.
doesn't work.
On record, there
So
will
you
be
go to
no
executive
polling.
session then.
Just
Like
did. Do you
clarification.
have something else that you wanted to say?
Couple things. I think for clarification tonight, we recognize that Mayor-elect Robb will be the mayor. We will have a vacancy. And I think part of the reason behind putting this item now is to streamline the appointment process. So if we could identify, if you want to have 2 teams of 3 to do interviews, city attorney says that's okay, then we'll be happy to schedule those and coordinate those. I think one other thing that's important is setting some timelines. So how long do we want to have the application process open? Is it 7 days, 10 days, 30 days, whatever that is? And then from there, we can open the application process, make sure that everybody gets a copy when those come in, just as we did last time, and then schedule, if it is in the 2 teams of 3, we can schedule those separate interviews from there. And then you've got each group, everybody will have access to all the applications, and you'll each have your own, obviously your own interview process and how that goes. But we'd be happy to coordinate what we can, but there will be no polling.
So how much time did we give before when we put the apps out?
That's a great question.
I think it was
believe
2 weeks or 10 days.
I believe it was 7 days was the last time that the application period was open. I don't know that at this point that it needs to be that. It could be as slim or as broad as you'd like. If 7 days is ideal, if 14 days is ideal,
When does the swearing in happen? May 2nd?
May 6th.
May 6th?
Yes, sir.
So if we put the application out May 6th for 5 business days,
Well, we put it out
Or
May
7th.
7th because we would declare a vacancy on the 6th.
7th, so you put it out 6th. Yeah.
That's what it was.
And I think you could, City Attorney, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think you could open the application process and receive applications and tomorrow, if that was the direction of the City
But
Council.
we wouldn't want to do that because one of the council members that's going to be on one of the teams won't get sworn in until the 6th.
We can wait on interview scheduling until
You
after
can do
that.
the application process, but not the interview process.
And that works. We know we're going to have a vacancy, so I don't
Yeah.
think that when we,
I think if we were to wait until after May 6th, that would negate the point of talking about it and taking action tonight.
The only problem I would have with a longer period of time by opening it now would be, back to the discussion earlier, is talk around Guthrie.
Yeah, I don't like
We
that
don't, we
either.
need to get 15 days for people to give all their opinions? No. Or, I don't think so. I think we should close that window as
What's
short
the,
as possible.
what's the harm in doing it on the 7th for a week? I mean, I don't know that we're in that much of a rush.
It's your timeline, so whatever you'd like to set, staff is willing to accommodate.
I think anybody's been paying attention, and rightfully so, if we want them on the council, already knows there's an opening coming. So they should be prepared to apply for it if they so choose. So I think there should be a short window of time.
Yeah.
Just my opinion.
Well, a week, I mean, that's
Yeah.
short.
Yeah,
7 days.
I would agree.
7 days.
I was thinking 5 business days, but whatever.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, I mean, it's what you want. Staff would like to have some direction on how you want to do this. It's sounding to
I
me
make a motion 5
like you.
business days.
Pardon?
Motion to 5 business days.
With 2 teams of 3?
Well, do we want to,
That's what we're gonna talk about.
do we want to heed what Councilwoman Mills had suggested, where we don't vote tonight and we vote on how to do it when Mineka is here?
I think we vote on how to do it, but we include Mineka in the entire process. We don't choose who's on. If we're gonna do 2 teams of 3, we don't choose those till she's here and sworn in.
I don't have a problem waiting in a hurry either, so I'm neutral there, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, or either way, but if we're gonna do it, I don't think we choose the 2 teams of 3 until she's here, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
In other words, we're not gonna say it's Jeff, Tracy, and Mineka
Right.
until she's here.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
He's just making a motion on the 5 days, is it 5 business days?
Right. I think
That's all
what
he's making a motion on.
what Kaylee was saying was that what we're deciding right now, you would have liked her to have been in that process, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It's her word.
so I think that staff has got enough guidance from this conversation to put together a plan that can be approved at that May 6th meeting.
Yeah, so
Certainly.
that's what I'm saying, so there you go.
Certainly could. I will also add, though, what we're discussing tonight in terms of, it sounds like we're ruling out executive session. I mean, we're not setting that interview process in cement, right?
No.
I understand that correctly. Okay. So we're waiting until the May 6th to vote on this. Is that the consensus? Because you've got a motion that would need to be.
That's what I'm hearing.
So the motion would you need to pull that back. You need to pull that motion back.
Who made the motion?
Tracy.
That's a motion to the number of days.
Yeah, but we're gonna do all that on May 6th.
Okay.
So will you withdraw the motion?
Yes, I withdraw.
Okay, all right.
Good job.
So.
But that was
no
the
action-
reason to do it tonight, was to push the application
All right,
process out.
so no action taken at this time. Staff has guidance to make it as an agenda item on the next city council agenda. Good?
There you go.
So no application process up until after May 6th.
Yeah, that's part of this whole deal.
Right.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. All right, city manager report.
Yes, Mayor and Council, it's been a busy couple of weeks here in Guthrie. As you know, we just wrapped up 89ers week. So the parade on Saturday, the weather wasn't all that great, although as we were walking and most of the time running and jogging, handing out candy, I did find out the driver of the float didn't make a difference in the running or the jogging as I was running and jogging this year. It was well attended. 89ers we had a good turnout, good events. So thank the committee and the whole community for coming together for that event. That's a huge event for us. We've got several events, of course, during this time that are key this time of year. April 10th, we had our first ever Guthrie at the Capitol Day. Thank you to Mayor-elect Ropp, Councilwoman-elect Gibbs for being there. Large turnout. Mayor Gitling was there as well. Large turnout for our first ever day at the Capitol. So we've already reserved the date for next year, and we look forward to growing that event and having a larger turnout. On April 2nd, myself and Caden attended the Aviation Day at the Capitol. Want to brag on Caden for a moment as he was there representing his colleagues in the Oklahoma OAOA. OAOA. There's too many acronyms, so I write them down. I try to keep track. Caden representing OAOA as their vice president. Is that correct? Yes. So your airport director is very active in the state in the aviation industry, and we appreciate that as that keeps us on the forefront on all things aviation related. Tuesday, April 1, Oklahoma Film and Music Office hosted Film and Music Day at the Capitol. Ran into Mayor-elect Ropp there as well. We shared a booth with Meridian Technology Center. Also want to point out and thank, I've done this numerous times, but I want to thank our first responders again for the wildfire response, the interlocal agreement that you approved and pointed out because of that interlocal agreement. Our partnerships countywide are important when we're making those responses to ensure that we have adequate resources and support team for everybody involved. So thank you to those who responded and took care of those wildfires. Would also like to say thank you to Logan County Farm Bureau and Companion Healthcare for organizing and hosting a cookout to honor and thank the first responders that took place on April 10th. It was the evening of the Guthrie at the Capitol Day at Mineral Wells Park. Thursday, April 17th, the ceremony was held at Mineral Wells Park to remember those who perished in the Murrah bombing, the 30th year tribute memorial at Mineral Wells Park. Congresswoman Bice was the keynote speaker. The event was well attended. It was a little warm, warm for an April day. Didn't have that same weather for the parade on Saturday, but it was a nice event. Do have some exciting news about the 2026 Renaissance Festival. Staff met with the event coordinator, event host, the man behind the magic, John Pagonis, and we have solidified that the 2026 festival will take place over 2 weekends down in the Cottonwood Flats. So we continue to see growth at that festival, have lots of attendance out there. Thousands of folks came out this year. We look forward to seeing that grow next year. As you've noticed, I'm sure the east side water tower is complete and the west side water tower is currently being sandblasted. You saw the apron around the top of the west side water tower. They are making some repairs to the roof and to the structure itself as they sandblast and prepare for paint. Last thing I have for you is that Mayor Gitling's retirement celebration will take place Tuesday, April 29th from 4 to 6 p.m. at Meridian Technology Center. With that, Mayor, that's all I've got.
Okay, thank you very much. Comments from City Council. Vice Mayor Geary.
I just want to take the opportunity to thank you for your years of service to the city in the center seat. It's a tough job, I know, to marshal 7 unique personalities and get through a meeting in record-breaking time, but you managed to do it, so congratulations, and I hope that you will enjoy your second retirement, or third retirement. I don't know what this is for you. Third retirement. So I know you only get paid $1 a year, but there's a lot of hours that have gone into that over the 10 years that you've served, and so I appreciate that. Also, congratulations to Mayor-elect Ropp on getting his film landed at one of the largest film festivals the Tribeca Film Festival for his movie Sovereign.
Thank you.
Which I am eagerly awaiting it coming out, so I'm looking forward to that. That's all I have. Thank
Okay.
you.
Mayor-elect Rob?
I would like to also kind of piggyback on what the Vice Mayor said, and I've thankfully to Kim Biggs, she helped me look up a lot of history on the role of mayor in Guthrie, and I got a list of all the mayors that we've ever had, and been looking up their histories and stuff like that. It's been really fascinating, and so I wanted to thank her first. I'm going to do that again on May 6th, but. Our shortest serving mayor was the very first for 8 weeks, and our longest serving mayor is this gentleman right here. So both ends there, we've got it, the first and the most recent. So 10 years is a good long while, and I heard this on the street a few months ago. Somebody was talking about our mayor here, and they said, and this was just a random comment, and I said, you know, he'll probably like to hear that, and they said. We're thankful to have a mayor that doesn't embarrass us. And I was like, so there you go. Random person, random citizen. I don't know who said it. So anyways, but thank you for your 10 years, Mayor Gitling. Yep.
Thank you.
And yeah, I've never spent so much time in my life at the state capitol, but I was honored and happy to do it representing Guthrie. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilman Bothroyd?
I would like to congratulate you for your tenure as well.
Thank you.
And congratulations, Adam, on multiple fronts.
Thank you.
You'll have that center seat here before long and be in New York.
Yeah.
So, I love New York. It's a great.
I've never been. So.
Oh, you've never been?
No, it'll be my first one.
I grew up in upstate New York, so it was.
I thought you were in New Jersey, and I'm not joking, but I'm wrong.
It was New York. And so you're gonna love it.
Okay, cool.
But the agreement that we put together with the county and the city, I think, is critical, and I really commend you guys for that. And I wish Haga was here, but he's obviously not. But that's a good job on that, and Dan, you as well. That's it for me.
Councilman Taylor?
Gosh, how do I feel? Guys, appreciate everything that all of you've done. It's staff. Dan kept it under 5 minutes too. I appreciate that. Mayor, I appreciate you serving with me. 12 years for me and 10 for you. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And I think Adam will do a good job here.
Thank you.
He'll fill in
Appreciate
for
it.
you. So
Thank you.
That's it.
Councilwoman Mills?
Yes, I would like to start off by thanking all of my fellow council members for your commitment to this community and all of the effort and time that you guys put into serving in the way that you do. I appreciate the opportunity to serve alongside of you guys for this short season. And it's been a pleasure and an honor. So I just wanted to commend you all for the work that you do. There's a lot of it that goes unseen. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for all of your service and just the way that you represent this community and the way that you pull this community together. And I've really enjoyed watching you lead. And so I just want to thank you for all of that. And also want to thank our city staff. I know that public service can be uniquely challenging, and I appreciate all of the hours you guys put in that is probably mostly unnoticed, but I think it's very valuable, and so I appreciate all that you guys have done for me in this position, taking time for me, answering questions, and I've enjoyed working with each one of you, even Dan. So just wanted to commend you all and say thank you for your hard work and keep up the good work. I feel like there's a lot of momentum in Guthrie right now, and there's a lot of great things happening, and that really is a testament to you guys and your work you do day in and day out. And I just also want to thank the citizens of Guthrie for allowing me to serve in this position and for all of your input that you've given me. It's really been a pleasure to serve in this capacity, and be able to take my background in government and use it to serve my own community, and I've really enjoyed that. So, thank you all.
Councilman Williams?
To all the kind and hopeful words, I concur. Thank you, Taylor. Appreciate you.
Well, I am finishing up 10 years. 2015, I started this wonderful journey, and I have worked with 5 city managers.
Is that not many?
Well, one was interim, but 4 and then one interim. Actually, with Kim, Kim being also an interim, 2 city attorneys, and 15 councilmen and councilwomen. And it's been an honor and privilege. It really has. It's been a unique experience. You know, sometimes as we see things happening, we don't realize the impact that we make in our community. And when I say we, I'm talking we, because it is Team Guthrie. Last night I was jotting down just some things that have happened in the last 10 years. So of course we got the big sales tax increase. We had that extended. I mean, huge. We had the biggest single commitment of money in the wastewater treatment, the $20 million that the city has ever made, happened in our tenure. And we've done that. We've splash pads, tennis courts, basketball courts, walking trails,
Frisbee golf.
moving dirt, disc golf, moving dirt on youth sports complex. Over 100 dilapidated buildings in our community that we have either taken down or have facilitated the restoration of. I mean, that is things that we are proud of, and I'm glad that I'm on a team that has made that happen. And the expansion enhancements of the viaduct happened a while ago, but it was on most of our watch. It was a good thing. Sidewalks that have been expanded. The annual putting into the budget, annual overlay for streets. Now, is it enough? No, but it's what we've got, and it's a movement in the right direction. Putting into place replacement of police cars on a schedule. Buying new equipment for the fire department, so that we have one of the highest ratings, best ratings in the state for insurance purposes. I mean, just it goes on and on and on. Bringing in Meridian Technology Center, recruiting them as well as other businesses to our community. What really good things that we all at this table and those that preceded us and the staff and administration have been a part of. It is something to be really, really proud of, and I'm humbled that I've been able to be in the center chair. Humbled that I've been able to be your mayor for 10 years, and I will still be passionate about the city that I love, the city that I've lived here for 28 years, but a city that I will continue to serve the city and the citizens, just not as mayor. But I'll be watching. Again, thank you all for all of your support. You have taught me a lot. All of those people that I have talked with and sat with, as well as the citizens of this great community. It has been, like I say, a privilege and an honor, and I'm humbled. With that, I conclude our city council, but don't go away.
Oh, got another one.
Because we open up our Public Works Authority meeting of April 22nd. The second item on that, this one won't go so long, folks. Second item is a consent agenda, item A, B, and C. I'll entertain a motion to approve consent agenda as listed and distributed.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Submit your votes, please.
All votes are in.
Let's see the votes. Unanimous approval then to Approve of the consent agenda. Item number 3, items removed from consent agenda. There were none. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, and I guess, Kaylee, you and I last city council.
Is this the final hammer?
Full city council. And I will be here to open up the next one, but the gavel will change. I conclude our Public Works Authority meeting. Thank you all for being